App Planning for Success. Brought to you by Software Accelerator Playbook. On Instagram at S.A.Playbook. Today on the podcast, we're talking about where you don't want to end up and what you want to avoid. Now, sometimes it's important to talk about, where you should end up and talking about the target, but it's equally as helpful to get a good picture of where you don't want to end up and the mistakes that you want to avoid. So I see this all the time, talking to people where, they've already invested a ton of money and, they're already kind of down the road. They wish they would have done it differently, or they're kind of in a rough spot. But one thing that's very important, that's really, really easy to miss, is the idea of focusing so totally on the technical aspect of making the thing, right? You want to make the app. I just need an app. How do I make the app? Technical all day long. But what is being ignored are the people, right? Where are the people? How am I going to get in touch with the people? How am I going to consistently attract and bring in the people, right? This is almost like, this might be a stupid metaphor, but the idea of if you want to go fishing, if you spend all the time, buying the perfect fishing rod, right? I got to get the right fishing rod. It's got to be the exact right. I actually don't know a lot about fishing, so this is probably a bad metaphor to use. But the idea of you're spending so much time just making sure you have the perfect fishing rod. And then once you're done with that, you're like, oh, wait, but okay, now I have to go fishing. I'm not done yet. It's almost like I've just begun. Now I can go fishing because I've actually got the proper equipment, but now I have to do this whole work of fishing. And the thing is that a lot of people focus on building that perfect fishing rod, and they don't think about fishing. And so then what happens is once they've spent all of their energy and their time, finding this perfect fishing rod, then when it comes time for them to fish, they're already spent. They've already spent too much money. They've already spent too much time. And then they just go, oh, I don't, what am I supposed to do with the fishing? And they think that the actual action of fishing, the action of going out and getting people, the action of marketing and telling people about the service, about the app, about the whatever else, they kind of put that secondary. And I made the same mistake too. It's a very easy mistake to make. It's a very easy thing for people to do. It happens all the time, to ignore the marketing part or think that the marketing part can come second and isn't as important. But what I would argue is that it's actually more important to do the marketing. That if you are if your app is a quarter as good as you can make it, but you market 4 times as hard, then you're going to kill it. Versus if your app is fantastic and you barely market it. People need to be invited into the conversation. People need to be fished for. People need to see that you have an app that can help them. And the way to do that, the way that they can see that, is if you reach out and you tell them. Right now, how are you going to tell them? What do you do? Well, there's a million different things you could do. You could make your own podcast. You could be on somebody else's podcast. You could contact influencers and give them an equity stake and do some sort of partnership with them. You could launch your own paid ad campaign, whether by search, with Google or with Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever else it is. You could create your own show. You could obviously, old school, put advertisements in magazines and things like that. Although if you're trying to reach a younger demographic, that is not the way to go. But thinking about, where are your people and how do you get in touch with them? Maybe it's a Facebook group. Maybe it's, maybe it's a Telegram channel. Whatever it is, if you can't tell the people, then it doesn't matter how good your app is. And so if you put the marketing part for later, if you put the marketing part for after you've created the thing, then what you might find is that you're actually creating the wrong thing. And that's the most difficult, pill to swallow, after you've spent, $30,000 building an app, to just go, well, where are my people and how do I get people into this app? It's, it's working. The shell is there. People can sign up for an account, but how do I get people in? And there's so many mistakes that can happen here, whether it's that you don't have any sort of human face attached to the brand, so people don't really feel like they connect with the brand, and they don't really they're not really pulled in, because when people see human faces, they get pulled in. But if they just see an app screen and a voiceover, or maybe even just like just a song playing, you're assuming, I've put together this video that will then kind of show how the app is, but it's not engaging. It's not grabbing their attention. Out of all the things that are pulling on people's attention nowadays, which is endless, all these brands, all these other companies are vying for people's attention. So if you do a minimal job at marketing, then you will get minimal results. And if you, as you're building it, if you start marketing it as you build it, if you start chatting with the people that are going to use it as you build it, if you make sure that you're building that community, whether it's through building an email list, or gaining followers on a social media channel, or whatever it is, that is the big key that a lot of people miss. Many more people build a technical thing, a technically accurate app, and don't market properly, than the people that market really well without a technical app. Right? More people are sitting there with something that works, with something that's functional, and they don't have enough users, than the opposite. Very typically, if you're going to market something really well, it already means that you've passed, you've already created something awesome, and you've got enough fuel to be able to then power that next section, the marketing campaign. But if you don't understand what people want, or think, or just assume that you know what people want, then when it comes time to market it, and you think, okay, well, how do I tell people about this thing? What do I say about this thing? That's going about it backwards. That you shouldn't be creating something unless you fully understand the problem that you're solving, and also that the problem that you're solving is a problem that people are really struggling with. That, nowadays there's a lot of apps that are just kind of nice to have. Oh, that's kind of nice to have. Oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, that's interesting. But that doesn't really mean that there's going to be a ton of adoption for it. That the idea of just having an app that's just kind of, cool. Oh, that's cool. That doesn't necessarily drive people to take action. That even though it may be on their list to want to join the thing, and and be a part of the thing, that there's a lot of other things that come first. And so if you're not thinking problem first, if you're not thinking, what is my app doing that's going to drive people to actually use it, and am I actually solving the right problem? Am I actually solving the right problem with my app? It's amazing to me how many times I see this happen, where people will assume, if I can just go to a developer and get the thing built, then it'll work out for me. And I think this came from the phrase, when I was a child, the phrase was, if you build it, they will come. And that's just not the case anymore. It's just not true. If you build it, they will not come. If you build it and then you market it, then they will come. So don't get stuck in this idea of like, okay, technical. Don't sleep on the marketing aspect. Don't sleep on the people part of your app. And if you're not talking to the people that are a perfect fit for your app, if you're not in conversation with them, if you're not building a community, if you're not marketing and talking about, the problem that your app's going to solve, then what's going to happen is you're going to finish, if you get far enough to finish the technical part of your app, then you will then have a huge haunting problem sitting above you, which is, okay, but how do I get the people in? And how do I get the people in continually and consistently? How do I build a pipeline that will bring the people in? And so that's a huge part of this puzzle. And if you ignore it, then you will find that you're sitting there with this asset that you've paid for. I paid for the whole app. I built the whole app. I don't have any users, and now here it is, and it's sitting here. And now I have to figure out this whole other piece, which is how do I get the people in? And that's kind of a slow start. It's kind of a difficult, slow start. So if you start it while you're developing, if you start it even before you develop and think about and talk to people and make sure that you're building the right thing, then by the time the software's done, it's already in alignment with the people. And you are also the people know that it's coming. They also know it's coming, and they're also very excited about when it comes out. And so then when you open the doors, you've got users day one. You're solving the problem correctly from day one. You've got people that want to pay you from day one. And it's tricky to do. But, if you even do a job half as well, to just even start the conversation and just start trying to talk to people about it, you will get way more information than a lot of people do when they think, okay, I've got to build this in secret, I've got to keep this secret, I've got to keep the secret, I've got to keep the secret. And then they realize once they finish, oh my gosh, okay, well now it's not secret anymore. How do I make it not secret? How do I shout from the rooftops that this thing is done? Oh, that takes money. Oh, that takes energy. Oh, that takes marketing chops. Oh, that takes consistency. Oh, that grows like a snowball rolling down the hill to turn into a huge boulder of snow. Right? You can't just, drop a snowball off the side of a mountain and expect it to immediately turn into this huge, huge rolling ball. You can't just drop a seed in the ground and expect it to be this huge, huge tree bearing fruit. It takes time. So if you are working on your app now and you haven't started marketing, start today. Start talking about it today. Start talking about the problem you're solving. Start getting in conversation with people. And if you're afraid of people stealing your idea, then keep in mind that as much energy as you're going to put in, somebody else has to outwork you. Somebody else has to give up on their dreams to pick up your dream. Somebody else has to be consistent with it over years. Somebody has to want it more than you want it. And if you are truly doing the right app for you, if you are truly, chasing the right thing for you, then what I would say is that there's probably very few people that are like that are willing to give up their life to focus on solving that specific problem. That other people, they have their own dreams and ambitions. And also, it's very difficult to be consistent. It's very difficult. People, you can take a sprint, you can do a sprint. Maybe somebody might, come up against you in a sprint. But, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, if people are really diving in that deep with it, then they probably would have done it anyway. It probably would have already been on their heart to do it. Now, if you're coming up against a big company that has hundreds of millions of dollars and you give them an app idea that they can steal, then that's a different scenario where they just have a ton of resources and they can just deploy. But that's going to happen anyway. You saw what when TikTok came out, and then what Instagram and Facebook did, then adding that type of feature. So the big boys are gonna steal anyway, and they're gonna move forward with what they can anyway. So at that point, it just comes down to what are you building, and will it be able to be directly ripped off by one of those big dogs if it's in alignment with their current platform. So I hope this has been helpful for you. Please don't sleep on the marketing thing. Now, if you want help with that, if you want help with either, getting your app blueprint correct, or, you've kind of already started your app and you need help with marketing, you need help with paid ads acquisition, bringing people into your app, send me a DM and let's get a conversation started, and I'll let you know if I can help you. Send me a DM on Instagram at S.A.Playbook. Talk to you soon. Bye.